Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and soon-to-be graduates. On behalf of North Anglia Education, the WPS Board of Trustees, the faculty, staff, and administration of our school, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to extend to you a very warm welcome to the graduation ceremony for the Windermere Preparatory School Class of 2016. We are so pleased to have all of you here with us. Tonight you are going to hear some very eloquent, inspiring, reminiscent, aspirational, and from the heart words from our salutatorian and valedictorian, as well as from our commencement speaker. Thus, I'm not going to deliver a lengthy address, as I am as anxious as all of you and all members of the class of 2016 are to hear the messages that our speakers will be delivering. I do, however, want to take a couple of minutes to recognize some very special people who are in attendance tonight for the constancy of their love and support for our seniors, as that has been a mainstay of incalculable value in the life of each one of these students. So if you are a parent of one of our graduates, please stand and accept the thanks of our seniors and the WPS faculty, staff, and administration for your inspiration, encouragement, love, and support that you've given to your family. If you are the brother or a sister of one of our seniors, please stand and accept our thanks for you being here to support your brother and sister of our program. If you are a grandparent or a great-grandparent of one of our seniors, please stand up. We want you to know how very much your presence with us today means to your granddaughter or grandson. Now, if you are an extended family member or a friend of the family of one of our seniors, please stand and know we're honored by your presence as well. If you are a family member or friend of one of our seniors who has traveled across an ocean to be here with us tonight, please stand and be welcomed and recognized for the commitment you made to attend this event. Those of you who are parents of our international boarding students, please know how very much we appreciate the faith and confidence that you've shown in entrusting your son or daughter in his or her high school education to our care. These students have been wonderful value adds to the experience of everyone on our campus. We've learned so much from them. We are all better people, and Windermere Preparatory School is a better school for our having had the opportunity to come to know and grow to love them. I also want to recognize those trustees who are here today in dual roles of parent and trustee. Please, as I call your names, stand up. I extend a very warm welcome and a great big thank you for your service to our school to trustees Pam Bell, Ricardo Cumberbatch, Jackie Cumberbatch, Jerry Conroy, Ruth Boston, Dr. Antonio Crespo, Dr. Dina Parikh, and Mr. Dave Becker, each of whom is a parent, a member of the class of 2016. Last but certainly not least, it's my pleasure to welcome back former headmaster Mrs. Donna Russell and her husband Tim Russell, seated right over here somewhere I can't see in the light. Donna Russell, you're always a local. We're glad to have you back with us tonight. Way back in 1979, Sister Sledge, an old Philadelphia gospel and rhythm and blues group, topped the charts with their recording of We Are Family. In that vein, we consider each of you here today, from wherever you may have come, by virtue of your presence, to be a member of the Windermere Preparatory School family. We're going to have a good time together this evening as we celebrate the many successes of this terrific group of young people who are seated here before me. Our seniors have diligently toiled for 4 years in high school to reach this passage point in their lives. To get this Windermere Pinnacle celebration of student achievement underway, please welcome to the stage the salutatorian for the class of 2016, Yale-bound, Mr. Jared Bell.
Parents, administrators, teachers, distinguished guests, and fellow students, good evening. It is my honor to welcome you to Windermere Preparatory School's graduation ceremonies. My name is Jared Bell, and I am the salutatorian for the class of 2016. I was surprised and a bit alarmed when I learned that it is the salutatorian's job to give this welcoming address. When I first learned of this distressing aspect of the job, I immediately thought of a quote from one of my favorite characters, Michael Scott, who said, and I'm quoting here, "I knew exactly what I was doing, but in a much more real sense, I had no idea what I was doing." So to prepare for the speech, I fell back on what I learned in high school. One thing I learned is that it's always smart to consult the smartest person in the room. So I started my research by asking the valedictorian, Alex, how to correctly spell salutatorian. Armed with that knowledge, I turned to every student's trusted sidekick, Google, to do a little research. And here's what I found. According to Urban Dictionary, which, as I'm sure you know, is an exceptionally reliable source, the salutatorian is, and I'm quoting here, the person who just missed being valedictorian by a few GPA points. Tenths of GPA points. Now, a very miserable person indeed. Second place is just the first loser. All jokes aside, today is a significant day in all of our lives. After my speech, and the more interesting ones that follow, we will finally graduate. I know this may come as a surprise to some of our teachers, but it's true. You can't deny it. This news will certainly be a relief to some of our parents and teachers as well. The high school is a challenging and at times trying experience for many of us. We balance school, community service, sports, part-time jobs, extracurricular activities, and lest I forget, the social life. Now, we would not be where we are today if not for our teachers. They had to put up with a lot. There were seemingly endless retake requests, grade complaints, chronic absences, and daily school store runs. I'm sure we can all agree that our teachers are deserving of our thanks and admiration for all the hours they spent helping us to learn and to grow. Now, since I have the privilege of being up here, I'd like to briefly mention a few civic teachers who had an outsized influence on my time here. First off, I'd like to thank a mathematics wizard, the fearless leader of the sanctuary, Mr. Nazaro, who sadly cannot join us today. He made himself available for several hours, almost every day after school, for anyone willing to come. He found ways to explain and make interesting difficult abstract concepts. I will never forget his devotion to his students in this subject, and I, for one, am incredibly grateful for his support. Now, I would also like to thank Mr. Hardiman for making studying works of literature entertaining and rewarding, and for encouraging me to write in different genres. I doubt I would have tried my hand at a script for a scene from Forrest Gump or a monologue from House of Cards as Frank Underwood were it not for Mr. Hardiman's encouragement. And finally, I would like to thank Mr. Stevo, my biology teacher of 3 years, for making class and learning such a joy. It takes a special teacher to make studying chloroplast membrane transport intriguing. I really don't know how she did it. I'm sure it goes without saying that my fellow classmates and I would not be here tonight without the generous support of our parents and family members. I think I speak for all of us when I thank them for the hours they have devoted to us. I want to specifically thank my parents, and of course, my sister. Mom, thank you for the hours you dedicated to me, whether it was taking me to school, hounding Mrs. Jarena and myself about college applications, coming to my baseball games, or quizzing me before exams. Yes, I realize you're not a big fan of biology, but I appreciate you trying. And Dad, thanks for all the words of wisdom and for generously picking up the tab. When you were prep was... Linear prep was probably a pretty good warm-up for the next 4 years. And Katie, who would have been sincerely disappointed had I not mentioned her, thanks for the never-ending college and life advice. This is also a great opportunity to reflect on our own hard work and initiative. Through our activities and experiences, we demonstrated our motivation, ingenuity, and resolve. Some of us took HL Mathematics and know how to respond when Ms. Nazario says ZPP. There you go. Others won state championships. Some of us played sports or competed in robotics competitions across the country. Others began their own singing and modeling careers. Some of us founded charitable organizations. Others raced cars. Some studied sports medicine, while others enjoyed pizza parties and classic rock, courtesy of Radio Cohen. No person's journey is quite like any others. While we've all achieved success in one form or another, I am confident that this moment, these years, are not the peak. They merely reflect what is to come. We leave here tonight with a solid foundation and a blank slate. We will no longer have our parents nearby to hover over us, to make sure we stay on track, to provide encouragement. Our teachers will no longer be patient enough to let us retake exams. What we have after tonight is a fresh chance to find our own purpose and direction in life. As Albert Einstein, a man whose brilliance is not always clear to his teachers and peers, once said, "Strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value." I believe that Windermere Prep has provided us with the foundation needed to do just that. I am confident that we will all be of value to the world by doing what we love, by being leaders in business, medicine, sports, government, and our own communities. In conclusion, as Mark Twain once said, 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So, explore, dream, discover. Let's get on with it. The fun starts now. Congratulations to all of you. As always, may the force be with you.
and gentlemen, it is my honor and my pleasure to introduce to you tonight the valedictorian for the class of 2016, Mr. Alex Schwartz. Alex joins us from the choir, and that is because Alex exemplifies the idea that people talk about often when they think about success, or they discuss it, that what you do is more important than where you are. So as Alex joins us from the choir, he exemplifies the fully engaged high school student who's taken full advantage of his high school career. Alex is a full IB diploma candidate. He was editor of the 2016 yearbook. He is an accomplished pianist. He is an active and committed thespian. He has been an actor in numerous school productions, my personal favorite being Lord Farquaad. Yeah. And was hoping we might see him tonight. Maybe not. Thank you, Alex. He's a member of Ren 5 who will be attending Northwestern University in the fall. Alex Schwartz.
Good evening, teachers, families, friends, people who just wandered into the Dr. Phillips Center thinking there was some kind of free show going on. You're welcome here too. But most of all, good evening to the class of 2016. When I sat down to write this speech, which most definitely was not yesterday, it was the day before, I was confused as to where to start. Several thoughts ran through my head. One of them, of course, as any of the other fellow members of my class would also think, given this position, will this speech be formative or summative? Another, of course, was what exactly is supposed to go into a valedictorian speech? So, just like any confused and exhausted IB student would do, I Googled, how to write a valedictorian speech? There were plenty of how-tos and sample speeches, many of which coincidentally contained the line, I Googled how to write a valedictorian speech. But here's what I gleaned from my search. In this speech, I'm supposed to reflect back on our class's experience and give some kind of advice. Basically, I'm doing just what the Latin roots of valedictorian, vale, and dico mean. I'm saying goodbye. Or, as Mr. Hardiman might put it, K-great bye. But before I get into what Google said I should write, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize some amazing people for all they've done for me over the years. Mom and Dad, I love you, and thank you for always supporting me in literally everything I do, even when I refuse to clean my bathroom or change out of my pajamas for dinner. Grandma, you were my biggest cheerleader. Thank you for telling every single person in the Western Hemisphere about my accomplishments. I miss you, but I know you're bursting with pride right now wherever you are. Thank you to my friends, Claude for sticking by me ever since Fraction World back in 5th grade. Andrea, Gia, Hiba, Siri, and Xenia for annoying me, making me laugh, and roasting me all at the same time. And Z, of course, just for being fierce. And, of course, the speech would not be complete without a thank you to the IB music class of 2016, many of whom were up there singing Thankful with me. Casey, Xavier, Desi, Vanessa, Victoria, Grace, Daniel, Mark, Jason, Vivian, and, of course, our overlord, Miss T. All I have to say to you guys is, Mimi Hame Fostai Ko. And finally, the countless teachers and staff of WPS who have had impacts on my life. You've helped me to grow into the intellectually curious person I am today. You've taught me how to, not fail my IB exams, but you've also sat backstage with me at musicals, let me eat lunch in your classrooms, and travel to competitions and conferences with me. You've been invaluable to my development as a person. Though, spirit-wise, I think it's safe to say we probably peaked in 7th grade, the class of 2016 has still managed to make plenty of memories during our years together. We had WPS's first ever class pet alligator in Mr. Crescetti's science class, and we belted out the Jonas Brothers and Jason Mraz in 5th grade. We played drums with Barney at Spirit of Unitas. We made fun of fat squirrels at the Grand Canyon. We tried to make our 8th grade quote YOLO, much to our teacher's dismay. We learned about the growth mindset and how to be a high school superstar. We analyzed the song Hello by Lionel Richie, as well as its slightly disturbing music video. We collectively wrote countless essays, IAs, and EEs, complaining about them for longer than we had actually spent writing them. We witnessed our teachers step into a brave new world of Twitter. We brought home trophies, titles, honors, and championships to truly leave behind a legacy for years to come. And at the end of it all, we took immense pleasure in soaking a certain mathematics teacher. Look, we're not known for being the most unified class or the most spirited class, but I'd certainly argue that we're the most unique and talented class that's ever graced the WPS campus. You'd be hard-pressed to find a boring student among this group of people. Everyone here has something they excel at, whether it be dancing, playing soccer, or simply finishing a 4,000-word essay 2 hours before it's due. We've got budding scientists, politicians, novelists, nationally recognized athletes, and even someone who can recite over 130 digits of pi. The WPS community has witnessed your talents for years, but now it's time for you all to share them with the world. Now comes the part where Google said that I was supposed to give some advice. I thought, great, what advice could I possibly give? Does the fact that I have good grades really put me in a position to advise my peers? It doesn't. There are people sitting in this audience who are far more qualified than I am and have more life experience than I do, so I'll leave the bulk of the advice given to Mr. Hardiman. But, because I'm up here, I have to give you something, so here it goes. Just like the message was in our song that we just sang, Thankful, there's so much to be thankful for. We're incredibly lucky to live the way we do, to learn in clean classrooms, to go home to comfortable houses, to drive nice cars, for some of us just cars, but that's still great, to go on vacation, and to be able to see a doctor when we get sick. That's so rare compared to the rest of the world, and though we all basically understand how fortunate we are, we often forget when we're faced with our own problems. That's not to say that the things we deal with in our lives aren't important, because they do matter to us. But what we don't realize is that we, unlike the majority of the world's people, are in a position most of the time to make our own lives better. Because we live such full and privileged lives, we have the power and the resources to turn most of our problems into opportunities. If we see the challenges we face not as destructive, but things that can help us to grow, we can truly get the most out of our lives. A way to do this is to possess empathy in all situations. I think that what makes us human is our capacity to empathize. Understanding how another person is feeling is one of the most valuable skills we can have, especially in a time when being so connected through technology has enabled us to ironically disconnect from our own emotions. How many times have you gotten in an argument and refused to acknowledge that you were wrong in any way? I know, I definitely have, don't worry. I think, to what lengths will I go in order to be right? I find myself wanting to be heard and at the same time refusing to listen. I'm sure we've all been on both sides of that, and it's not fun. That negativity and selfishness is what degrades our relationships. Lacking empathy makes us, in effect, less human. So the next time you're sending a text or getting ready to speak to someone, think about how your words will make them feel. Have empathy for them. People our age have always gotten a bad rap from previous generations who think we're emotionless and apathetic. My challenge to you all as you leave WPS is to prove them wrong. Be curious about what other people feel, think, and do. Welcome perspectives you've never been exposed to before. Don't judge, accept. And more importantly, understand that people won't always return you that favor. But paraphrasing that famous poem by Mother Teresa that Mr. Becker covets so much, do it anyways. I probably just sounded like a motivational speaker, but oh well, that part's over. At this point during my writing of this speech, I realized something mind-shattering. We're like graduating. This is the final moment we'll ever be high school students, the last time we'll ever be together as this one class, with everyone present here who made our time so unique. And I know many of you are probably more excited about that than sentimental. For the past few weeks, whenever people have asking me if I'm scared or nervous to graduate and move on to college, I've always said, of course not! Bring on college! I'm so ready to leave! I still feel that way, but it's time for us all to move on to bigger and better things, to have more freedom, to make the choices that we want to make. But a part of me, the emotional, sappy part that no one likes to acknowledge exists within them, does feel sentimental. A lot of us are already 18, but I think that this moment, when we all get our diplomas and step out into the real world, is when we truly become adults. And there's something bittersweet about that. Cherish these last few moments as high school students and recognize that no matter your experience for the past few years, that part of your life will soon be behind you. Well, this speech wouldn't be complete without a quote, would it? This one comes from one of my idols, the supermodel of the world, the great RuPaul. You are not your religion. You are not your skin color. You are not your gender, your politics, your career, or your marital status. You are none of the superficial things that this world deems important. The real you is the energy force that created the entire universe. After we get our diplomas, turn our tassels, and toss our hats, hopefully in unison, guys, can we do that? We'll walk out of those doors and share that energy, our incredible talents, with the entire world. I just hope the world is ready for it. Thank you, and congratulations to the class of 2016. We did it!
Thank you, Alex and Jared, for your wise words and your humor throughout the night. Good evening. My name is Dr. Leslie Williams, and it's my honor at this time to introduce our commencement speaker, Mr. Michael Hardiman. In keeping with tradition, a random sampling of our senior class was tasked with deciding upon the Windermere Prep faculty or staff member to deliver their final lesson before heading out into the real world. It did not take long for this class to decide upon Mr. Hardiman, an IB English teacher who was challenged in these the last 2 years. What is interesting about their selection, however, is that he too is graduating. He is completing his 4th and final year here at Windermere Preparatory School as he embarks on the next journey of his life at Columbia University in the fall. While there, he will further his educational pursuits, continuing to demonstrate a commitment to lifelong learning to his students. I know that the students are as eager as I am to hear his final words, so without further ado, please welcome Mr. Hardiman.
Okay, I hope you guys don't mind if I go for the water at some point. And before I start, I just want to say thanks to Jim Powers, because he told me to think about row, row, row your boat for some reason, so that's the second I had tried for it that night. So here we go. Students, risk takers, communicators, critical thinkers, class of 2016. Thank you. Thank you for asking me to deliver your final lesson. In the prevailing structure of the commencement address, the speaker generally echoes the graceful tone of the day. Oh my God, we did it. I can't believe it. And he'll go on lauding the stuff you achieved, celebrating your service, and how promising and inspirational that all is. Then a couple of virtues of hard work and kindness get thrown in the mix, and applause ensues. Diplomas conferred. There's also this other tact, a sort of attempt to put your lives into frank perspective, sometimes harshly, to remind you that this day is but the first milepost in a long and arduous race, because the modern world has softened your resolve and left you without grit in this age of participation trophies and orange slices for all. It boils down to, sure, you've done a little, But in the grand scheme of things, it's not much. That sounds less than a great idea, though. I'd present as a scold, nostalgic for the good old days when 18-year-olds were great and accomplished real, tangible things, whatever those were. But I get it, and I suspect you do too. There's a reason why adults tend to feel this second way. In private moments, we adults often like to say, I can't believe these kids. They're so passionless, apathetic, naive, selfish, narcissistic, arrogant, yada, yada, yada. I'm leaving stuff out because I'm afraid I'm going to offend you and you'll miss the point because you're sitting there wondering why is Hardin in secondhand bashing me? Anyway, typically this conversation tends to end when we blame all your shortcomings and loathsome traits on the most obvious culprit. You'd hear us say, it's got to be the Twitter. Which is stupid, not only because it's a reductive conclusion and blatantly false, but because the answer is obviously Snapchat and Instagram. You don't even use Twitter. The problem with that line of thinking coming to adults is that it doesn't really question why we think you're that way. It also assumes that A, we weren't that way, B, we aren't that way, that we either never were or grew out of it, and C, we aren't totally responsible for the kinds of people you've developed into. You are, of course, a reflection of us and what we have instilled in you as important and valuable. If modern life seems to teach you anything, it's that you need to perform. And when I say perform, I do mean we instill in you the need to achieve at ever-increasing levels. But more importantly, I also mean we teach you that you're all just poor players strutting about the stage. In a sense, we've taught you that you're all the stars of your own reality TV show. The problem with that, of course, is that performances are meaningless. They lack sincerity and aren't real. They signify nothing. You just finished a process that actively discourages sincerity, that reinforces the performance. The drama that is college admissions. While it's probably not the root of all evil, it's certainly a strong fertilizer. If we're being honest, you're encouraged to take a challenging course load not out of intellectual curiosity, but because of competitive advantage. Serve the community, and make sure you can document those hours, or it will be as though that service never happened. Make a resume, curate a website, brand yourself. I cannot begin to fully express to you how dangerous I find this latest trend, personal branding. It's sneaky confirmation of our slide into a nightmarish world where there's a commercial doppelganger of you outside yourself that needs to cultivate brand recognition and loyalty, one that must respond to the market and maintain a consistent image. And how irresponsible it is for us, adults, the shepherds of your development, to give you this lens to view the world through, all at the expense of your humanity. And while this may sound like hyperbole, I beg you to listen, because I worry I'm going to head toward understanding. When you guys talk about stress, that is the source, the act. Performing is exhausting. It requires a tremendous amount of energy. You need to hide behind the perfect version of yourself and not let anyone see your missteps. You're so deep into the performance that you don't even know you're performing anymore. And your curated self feels more real than your real self. And the thing that we, the grown-ups, didn't have to face is that now because of technology, we can quantify it, how well you performed. The system confirms that you can be reduced to a number. You're the 3% of applicants accepted to Harvard. You're as attractive as your 72 likes on Instagram, or as lonely as your 610,000 friends on Facebook. There must be an implicit value judgment living somewhere in those numbers, that more is so much obviously better than less. And then we, those same adults who give you the guidelines, the idiots full of sound and fury, trick ourselves and you into thinking that the performance is all important, that it means something, that there's some purpose behind it, when in fact there is no meaning in the charade. And to then complain that the kids these days are more self-centered and self-involved, to lament the dearth of sympathy or the proliferation of lazy impatience is deeply unfair. It's all a result of a system that we created to motivate you, one that does not reward you for acting like a human being. The biggest mistakes that I made waiting to go off to my fancy institution of book learning, and for far too long after I left, was believing too deeply in the virtues of the performance. I was convinced meaning was there when there totally wasn't. And as a result, I became arrogant and self-important and thought because I had been deemed successful in some nominal way that I was better than other people. I would look around and feel like I had all the answers, that I had it all figured out, and that those who didn't were stupid and lazy and had their failures coming. I mean, if I were you, I'd probably be feeling pretty uninspired by this careful analysis of your high school existence, but here's the thing, I'm optimistic. Really, I am. I have to be. It's imperative, and the source of my optimism is each and every one of you. So much of the whole conflict that I described before stems out of jealousy and fear. Jealous of you for having the world at your fingertips, and the freedom to see exactly how misguided it all is, and the fear that just like us, you'll choose to do nothing about it. I live off the moments of genuine creative thought and curiosity that you show me almost every day. And that's why I do this. That's why I teach. Because as a teacher, I get to see the moments beyond seeming. The performance of seeming like a student breaks apart when you reach that edge that exists between thinking something and learning something that you never imagined was possible. That is real. It's like vertigo, the feeling of an abyss right beneath your feet, but it passes and it fades, and all of a sudden there you are, smarter, knowledgeable, and capable of something new, at the alpha of your new self, and the omega of the old one. It's massively rewarding, but also frightening. I worry that your curiosity will harden to cynicism, or that your creativity will get hijacked by some shill-pushing corporate interest where it will shrivel and die. That the beautiful nightlight in the darkness of adult life will burn out because of pragmatism and momentum. Go to college, get a job, get married, have a kid, retire. Each with the promise of an answer to all of your questions, each failing to deliver. What I don't have, though, is a solution all tied up and curated for you. A 7-minute TED Talk that will change your life. And I wish I did. I suspect that that's what we want for all of our children, to give you the answers and save you from the struggle that we face. But I don't expect to find it, the answer, the solution to this problem we call life. I want to. I'm not a nihilist, but I guess I've reached the point where I accept the struggle as just the way it is, the status quo. On its surface, that may seem unsatisfying and potentially exhausting, but it's far superior to the alternative, marked by frustration and stress and disappointment. What I do know, though, is that you have a choice today and for the rest of the days you have in front of you. Up until now, you've been given few choices, very little freedom. We have told you from day one that you must perform, or else. The problem with that is that we never told you when the performance ends. If you continue imbibing your life without sincerity, you'll be totally screwed. If you perform the act of son or daughter, you'll end up an orphan, parentless. If you just perform the act of student, of a learner, you'll end up stupid and ignorant to the world. If you perform the act of friendship, then you'll be completely and utterly alone. And if you perform the role of husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend, then you'll never know the joy of love. I wouldn't say that it's easy either living life outside of the performance. It's even hard to know when you're not performing, but it's also necessary not to. I don't even think I can give you a blueprint for that. I just know when I'm not performing, when I'm fully myself without pretense, when I completely lose myself in something. Nor can I tell you how often that needs to happen. I can only loosely describe the feeling. Like when I get home from a long day teaching and I'm stressed out and tired, and laundry is piling up in front of the laundry machine, and I think about how stupid and senseless it is that the laundry is just not done and folded. I don't even want to do it, because when it's done, I'll just have to iron it and wear it again, and then it will be dirty and pile up. And then I'll look at the mail, and there's this hospital bill that I need to pay that I feel like I never will be able to pay because I don't make enough money. And I live in a stupid country that has a stupid insurance system that disincentivizes going to the doctor. Even though basically every time I come home from work stressed out and see laundry, I launch into a panic attack. So you know what I mean. I'm not doing a good job right now, but what I am trying to get at is eventually I change and come back downstairs. I'll pull out an onion and have it and heat up a sauté pan. I'll start to dice the onion and probably turn on some music. I'll follow the onion with some garlic and celery, and toss the onion into the sauté pan with the olive oil. I don't know why, but there's something deeply engaging about cooking. I can lose myself in it and find myself again in the rhythms of chopping and dicing, and in the smells and the aromas. I love the paradox of it. I'm fully engaged and in the act, yet disengaged in my mind. My brain turns off. The period of life that you find yourself entering affords you a tremendous luxury to find out who you are when no one is looking, when you have no audience. Some people call my experience with cooking mindfulness or trying to stay present in the moment outside of myself. I'm not overly concerned with labels, and there's no way to find that place. There's no one way to find that place. Meditation, prayer, writing a story, long runs, gardening, chopping lawns, knitting a sweater. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that in the moments of pure exhaustion, you choose to leave the stage, because despite all evidence to the contrary, the world's focus does not rest upon you. And that's a good thing. That's a choice that you need to make when it feels like you can't. Because if you do, you will find a world of infinite complexity and elusiveness, not as terrifying or paralyzing, but as beautiful, full of ever-expanding possibility and wonder. As I said before, this is way easier to say than to realize, a choice defined by struggle, unbound by time. Choose to struggle, but also know that with the luxury of time comes a responsibility, one that I'm ashamed to say that we do not fulfill. Make this world a little less dependent on the performance for the generation that follows you. For if you do, maybe they will choose to do so as well. And so, today, your opportunity to choose begins. Thank you. It's been an honor to serve, and congratulations.